and Money Convo. We'll be back in 4 minutes and 40 seconds. That's right. That's Renegade Money Convo. Make sure you go check it out. It's on all platforms, streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, Google Play. download it, check it out. Go support the fam, DMV fam out there putting out some real hip hop for the DMV area and for the whole hip hop community out there. Because you know we got this garbage out there. But we're not even going to go there. That's on Sunday when I talk about the music. It's CP3 live from the lab once again, coming to you live on YouTube, Facebook, Periscope, streaming live, talking about some DC Defenders, XFL, and we're going to talk some boxing also because I see we got Paul the boxing guy on the line already. Well, I'm going to get it. Last week we had the XFL roundtable. This week, I figured after the embarrassing loss, I figured I'd go ahead and break down this game by myself because there's no reason to get nobody else involved in this embarrassing debauchery we saw yesterday. But let's go over the standings in the XFL before we get into this game because last week we were riding pretty high. Team was 2-0, looking very impressive. 2 home games. So, you know, that may have aided in the result of the 2 games. But after this game, we're definitely left scratching our head. But as of right now, as you know, there's 2 divisions, the East and the West, 4 teams in each. And the East, we have St. Louis Battlehawks, who are 2-1, leading the division. The DC Defenders are second at 2-1 in the division. There's I guess they went to the offense of the touchdown totals because the Defenders have 8 touchdowns for and 9 touchdowns against. They were the top defense in the league until this game yesterday when they got embarrassed, as I'll say again. Third place, the New York Guardians at 1-2. And last place, the upcoming opponent for the DC Defenders, the Tampa Bay Vipers, are currently 0-3. In the West, you have the Houston Roughnecks, who are 3-0. The Dallas Renegades, who are 2-1. The LA Wildcats, who the Defenders just lost to yesterday, giving up their first victory to the Kings. I'm sorry, I'm still thinking hockey. To the LA Wildcats, they're now 1-2. And the Seattle Dragons are 1-2. So this game yesterday, it definitely was an upset. The DC Defenders were heavily favored. The Wildcats hadn't won a game and looked pretty much bad. They were the team that fired their defensive coordinator, Pepper Johnson, after the first week. They actually traded Anthony Johnson, to the Defenders for Trey McBride, who had an outstanding game yesterday against the Defenders, which is why I'm not really concerned because I feel that McBride definitely, I think, aided the LA defense in shutting down the Defenders because I hadn't seen, oh man, I've been going live on the video feed but not the blog talk feed. Appreciate that, Paul, because I would have not known. I forgot I had muted myself. Appreciate that, bruh. But if you missed what I said on the blog talk feed, you can always check out the YouTube live or the Facebook live feed after the fact. Sorry about that, folks. I'm running the board by myself. Robbie and stepped off. But getting back to this game, I feel like the wide receiver going to LA aided in their defense, being able to pretty much shut down the DC's offense. Because every time you look, they had the Defenders' plays called perfectly. I mean, there was no one open. The running game got off. They got over 200 yards rushing on 26 carries. So, I mean, the running game, which has been missing through the first 2 games, definitely showed up. But the passing game, which they were leading the league in, definitely didn't. Cardell Jones only had 90 yards passing and had 4 interceptions, which is never good. He was forcing the ball. He didn't look comfortable at all. They were getting constant pressure on him. And when he did have a chance to make a play, he was either throwing the ball short, it wasn't to the right receiver, or he was forcing the ball in the window that he shouldn't have been trying to and wasn't hitting his check down man. As of the defense, they just looked like they weren't into their game plan at all. Josh Johnson, a lot of Redskins fans remember he came in at the end of, I believe it was 2018, and won a couple of games, and folks were clamoring for him to be the starting quarterback before they picked up Alex Smith for 2017, whatever year it was. He looked very impressive. It was his first, I believe, start in the league. I believe he came in at the end of the game last week for LA, but he was nursing an injury. He came back and definitely looked impressive. He put up 278 yards passing and 2 touchdowns, I believe. Looking at the numbers, DC had a total of 290 yards. I mentioned they had 200 yards rushing, only 90 yards passing. Had 16 first downs. They were 2 for 13 on third downs. I said 26 carries. They had 36 carries for 200 yards. 5 turnovers total. They had a fumble also. They gave up a punt block for almost touchdown. In this game, we saw them get one in their favor on in week 1. And LA, they had a total of 334 yards. They had 17 first downs. They went 4 for 10 on third downs. They had 26 rushes for 56 yards, but they had 3 touchdowns on the ground. And they threw for, as I mentioned, 278 yards by Josh Johnson, who also had 2 touchdowns through the air. So this was pretty much a lopsided game. The DC wasn't, they were in the game at the beginning, but the turnovers by Jones definitely aided in LA's attack, especially the punt block they recovered on the 2-yard line. So when DC looked like they were trying to get back in the game and had a chance, LA definitely closed the door on that. Even special teams didn't look good. As I mentioned, they gave up a punt block. And hopefully they can regroup against another team that's winless, and hopefully they can be focused and play a better game. Just to go over some of the personal stats, I mentioned Cardale Jones. He was 13-26, 163 yards total, but only with net yards, sacks and everything. That's why I said 90 yards net passing. But he had 163 on the day, 4 interceptions, no touchdowns, with a 20.7 quarterback rating. That's not good at all. The running game, as I mentioned, had 200 yards. I forgot the guy's first name, but Drosett, number 31, he got the lone touchdown for the Defenders on a nice run. I believe it was a 35-yard touchdown run. He had 8 carries for 75 yards, 1 touchdown with a 9.4 yard average. Abdullah, who I believe was a ex-Detroit Lion, he had 8 carries for 49 yards for a 5.9 yard average. And Pumphrey, the starting running back, he had 8 carries for 40 yards with a 5-yard average. So the running game got together, the passing game went to hell, and the defense looked like it didn't even show up. And special teams, I don't know what happened. They just, on that punt block, that definitely was a momentum swing and a momentum change for the team. And hopefully they can right the ship. They can get back to their winning ways this week against Tampa Bay, as I mentioned, who's a winless team and the only winless team left in the league. So hopefully this team can get back to winning ways, handle their business, and we'll be having a better XFL DC Defenders talk next week. But on that note, since we ran a little late on Wizards talk, I'm pretty much going to go ahead and wrap that up on that end. And we're going to get ready to get to Paul, the boxing guy, and recap this Wilder Fury fight that we both incorrectly predicted. As I mentioned earlier in the show, I said it was going to be a 7th round knockout by Wilder, and ironically it was a 7th round knockout by Fury. Now, as I mentioned, I didn't get a chance to see the fight. Paul sent me a feed. I haven't had a chance to check it out because I was prepping for the show today. His interpretation when I talked to him was basically Wilder got his ass beat for 7 rounds, and that's pretty much it. I heard some things about he got hit behind the ear and he was bleeding from the ear. That's why they stopped the fight. Paul said pretty much he got his ass whipped. So I'm going to let Paul break it down. I'm going to check out the video. I'm going to give some of my insights on it also. From what I did see some of the fight, but I didn't see the whole fight. Paul, how you doing tonight, good sir?
My man Carl, doing great, man. Just sucks to pull the Adrian Broner like I did last year and go against my greater instincts and just choose for who I should have known obviously was going to win. But it was a good fight, man. It was a good fight. I highly recommend when you get a chance, man, check that thing out.
No doubt. I definitely am. I was watching it. I was working. I was doing security at the club, but a couple of the guys had the ESPN Plus on their phone, so I was checking it out. When I saw when he got knocked down early, I was caught off guard, and he got the second knockdown. I was like, oh shit! And then by the time I came back to check, he said the fight was over. I was like, damn. I thought that Wilder would learn from the first fight and would be able to take him apart. But as you mentioned, Fury played a hell of a game, a strategic game. That's what you mentioned, how critical and how good he is. I don't know much about Fury. Most of the information I got through you. And you were saying that he is a mental guy that does things to throw off his opponent. We've seen that he licked the blood off of Wilder, which I still don't understand. But he does things that's unorthodox that takes you out your game. And I don't know if it was, like I said, I haven't seen the punch. But from what I saw, it did look like it was a little bit behind his ear, threw off his equilibrium maybe. But I'll let you give your take since you got a chance to watch the whole thing.
Hey man, look, anybody who's been listening to the show knows that over the years I've been a big vocal critic of Deontay Wilder and his lack of boxing skills, but that he made his bones with his right hand. And I always said if he fights somebody that can take away that right hand, he don't stand a chance. Tyson Fury took away his right hand the first fight, but he was goofing off. When he got comfortable, he started goofing off, and then that's when he was so worried about the right hand, he would slip to his right, and then Wilder smartly threw a left hook and knocked him down. Now, even though I picked Fury to win the first fight because I've been saying, for a while that Fury, even though I love Anthony Joshua, is the best heavyweight out, and he's one of the best heavyweights of the last 20 years because the man is 6'9", upwards of 300 pounds, moves his feet like Ali, moves his hands with ridiculous speed, has great head movement, but he has mental issues and addiction issues, and sometimes he lacks motivation. So I predicted Fury to thoroughly beat Wilder's ass the first fight, and he did that. I mean, he schooled him. He was taking him to school, but he wasn't hitting him with a lot of power shots because when you move around and you throw a lot of your punches on the run, you're going to lose some power because you're not sitting on your punches. And that's where Wilder makes his bones. He will stand flat-footed, sit on his punches, and fire that right hand. Well, going into this fight, all these months, I said Fury's going to whoop his ass. Fury's going to make amends for the first fight and not leave it in the judge's hands, and he's going to whoop his ass and knock him out, right? But I started to see things that were concerning over the last couple months where I thought Fury may be kind of going backwards into his vices again, but it was all mind tricks. Fury is so great at mind games that he even fooled me. And I've been watching this man since he was fighting Derek Chisora, his 15th fight. So he told everyone a few weeks ago he was looking to weigh in at about 270, 280, and everyone was stunned. They thought, man, is he getting fat again? Because he was 256 the first fight. Like, why is he coming in 20 pounds heavier? Is he fat? And this is just a rumor. But I heard that he actually had weighted shoes on to make himself weigh in heavier. Because in heavyweight, you don't got to make weight. You can weigh 400 pounds. And I guess that was to kind of make everyone think, Wilder included, that maybe he was slacking, maybe he wasn't training as hard. And couple that with firing his trainer, who got him the way he was when he got out of suspension. I was critical of that. Now, here's the thing, though, Carl. I did not know that his new trainer he hired was from the Crunk Gym. Anybody who knows boxing knows Crunk Gym. They know that legendary trainer Emmanuel Stewart, the best boxing trainer I think ever, who trained Lennox Lewis, Tommy Hearns. He trained some of the best fighters, period. Klitschko, he passed away. Well, Emmanuel Stewart's son was actually the trainer that Fury hired, and the reason why was because he wanted to have a better and more powerful right hand. And we saw that better, more powerful right hand in full force against Wilder. So I bet it against Fury, but Carol, on the show last week, I said, here's the caveat. I'm going against Fury. I'm saying Wilder by 5th round knockout because Fury seemed like he's not taking it seriously, talking about he wants to retire and this, so I thought his mind wasn't in it. But I said the caveat was if Fury is focused and he does come back the way he should, then there's no reason why he shouldn't win that fight. However, I still picked Wilder by 5th round TKO because I really thought Fury was kind of not taking it as seriously as he should have. And man, oh man, did he fool me. I feel stupid for going against my better judgment, but at the same time, I'm sure Wilder does too. And I mean, Fury came out and he showed the world. And he's such a smart businessman when he decided to come to America instead of fighting in England so he can get the American fans behind him too. So when he does get that belt back and try to get that fight with Joshua, it'll be probably the highest grossing heavyweight bout of all time. And I'm talking about more money than Tyson versus Lewis. He utterly dominated. He exposed every single flaw that we've always said about Wilder. Every single thing, that he's flat-footed, that his legs are always crossed, way. He doesn't have good head movement. He doesn't roll with the punches very well. He doesn't defend against the hook. He doesn't know what to do against fighters that approach him that come inside his range. And that's what Fury did. I stated that the other week, that Fury, if he's going to try to bulk up, stay inside Wilder's range and use his height and his weight against him, and that's what he did. He leaned on him to tire him out. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that Wilder came in at 231. That was 20 pounds heavier than his first fight, and it was all muscle there. Wilder's in shape. He wanted that knockout too. But he didn't bank on Tyson Fury being an even more brutal Tyson Fury, and I don't think anyone did. He came out from that opening bell ready, and as soon as that opening bell hit, because I watched the replay, and I tried to avoid seeing what happened, I was like, oh man, this dude's ready. And early in that first round, he landed, I call it a power jab. He landed a power jab so flush on Wilder's face that it sent him back, and he was never the same after that. Wilder never put forth any sustainable or meaningful offense. Didn't even hurt Fury one bit. Had no answer for Fury's masterful boxing ability. Had no answer for Fury using his angles. No answer for Fury landing those overhand rights. And what I'm gonna tell everybody is this is what I saw that I noticed that was the wrinkle in Fury's game. The first fight, instead of standing there and taking the right hand from Wilder, he would slip, or he would weave to or duck and get low, and that would open the door for the left hook, and that's what knocked him down twice first fight. This fight, different approach, and I have to credit this with the Jim Emmanuel Stewart's trainer, Sugar Hill. He utilized the old George Foreman defense, meaning they used to call him, Ali used to laugh at Foreman and said he fights like a zombie, because he keeps his hands out in front of him. But that's called an extended guard. And every time Fury would throw that punch, that jab, he knew that Wilder was going to try to fire back with his right hand. So what Fury did, being 6'9", having a 3-inch reach advantage, he kept that extended guard. So every time Wilder tried to come back with a straight right, because he knew Wilder wasn't going to utilize and create any angles for himself, he knew that punch was just going to deflect off of Fury's left hand, and Wilder would be wide open at that point for an overhand right, and that's exactly how it went down. I mean, Fury hit this man with everything except the kitchen sink. He knocked him down with a body shot. He knocked him down with a punch to the head. He hit him on the eardrum, because at the same time when Fury was throwing his overhand, Wilder was ducking. He busted Wilder's lip. And obviously I don't take lightly injuries like that, because boxing is a tragic sport. And I see a lot of people saying, oh, you support him one day and now you don't support him now, you're all sellouts. Forget all that mess. Look, he's fair game. When he was talking about catching the body, nobody had nothing to say. He loses to Fury for real this time. Now suddenly everybody's making it about, oh, you're a sellout if you don't support Fury. I mean, Wilder, is boxing. Fury showed what he had to do. He utterly decimated Wilder. Now Wilder swears that he's exercising his rematch clause, which he has 30 days to do. Honestly, I don't see that happening. If I was Fury Wilder's team, I would look to him and say, look, you're not going to recover from this, not right away at least. You're 34. You lost to him twice. You're not going to beat him in a third. Step back, take a break, fight a couple lower tier fighters, get your name back in the picture, and by the time you're 35, 36, maybe you can fight Joshua or Fury. But Joshua's trying to get that fight with Fury now, and I know Wilder says he's going to sign on and he's going to accept the rematch clause, but I just can't see it. I mean, they swear that it wasn't a busted eardrum, but you don't bleed from the ear like that as much as he did, unless there's some damage in there, and then that causes vertigo in itself. You damage your eardrum, your inner ear, you can't stand. And that explains why Wilder was so wobbly and off balance and uncoordinated more than usual this fight, because, I mean, he was getting rocked with Fury's right hand. And at that point, his corner had to throw in the towel. I know Wilder was mad, saying, I want to go out on my shield, but, anyone who don't know boxing, your trainer's job, besides making sure you're ready for the fight, is to keep you alive. They have to protect you from yourself. And I honestly think that the fight should have been stopped 2 rounds earlier in round 5, because Wilder couldn't mount an offense. He was off the ropes, falling all over the place. His face looked confused. I'm just glad that they stopped it when it did, and this didn't end up being a tragedy, because it was that bad. Fury took him to school, and Fury showed everybody, once again, everybody called me a crazy person when I said Fury was going to beat Klitschko, Fury was going to beat Wilder the first time. I hope everybody see now this man is for real. And I rated Joshua as the number one heavyweight while Fury was gone. Sure, Joshua got 4 world titles, but in terms of pure skill, Tyson Fury is the best. He just has to make sure that he doesn't let his mind get the best of him again with his mental illness issues. And honestly, if he knows that a fight with Joshua is a possibility for all the marbles, I think that'll be enough motivation to keep him going and not fall back into his old vices again. Because Carol, he did the damn thing. I mean, I haven't seen a title fight ass whooping that thorough in a very long time.
Damn, I definitely gotta check out the footage. But I remember you mentioned it before he had his bout with crack and had to give his belts up. That he was one of the best fighters out there. That a lot of folks slept on him, but he was the best technically sound. He had great footwork, and he knows how to work his opponent and take advantage of whatever advantages he has and exploit the weaknesses of his opponent. And it sounds like that's what he did to Wilder. Like I said, we spoke about it over and over again. When we first started talking boxing, I was a diehard Wilder fan, and just seeing some of the stuff that went on, the talking and not backing it up, and some of the in-ring stuff that wasn't as effective and wasn't as crisp as it was when he was hungrier. Now that he feel like he reached the top and he was the best and doing a lot of talking but wasn't backing it up. So I was surprised that it ended that way, but being that we covered it and talked about it for a while, and you told me about the flaws in his game, but his right hand was making up for it. And like you said, someone that knows how to use that to his advantage and play mind games, which ultimately is what boxing is about. Ultimately, when you're in the ring, it's physical and landing punches, but it's all strategy of how you setting your opponent up to take him down. And sounds like he did it perfectly and set it up. And we talked about him coming out of nowhere and was able to get that first fight with Wilder out of nowhere when there were other people waiting, and for him to manufacture himself a way into even the conversation, and the fact that not even a year and a half, 2 years later, he has a belt and is actually in talks with fighting Joshua to unite all of the belts together, and possibly can be, I think you called it the lineal champ again, when I think you said he was the last one to have all of the belts or something. So it's just crazy how this whole heavyweight boxing division is going right now.
It's crazy, man. I mean, he leveraged. Me and my wife would talk before the first Wilder fight, and I said, he's playing Wilder. Wilder thinks that he's well protected. Wilder thinks that Fury is just some fat stiff who's addicted to drugs and just needs payday. And I think that's why Wilder took that first fight with Fury. He thought it was safe. I said, he must not know Tyson Fury is no stiff. And I watched the interview on Breakfast Club before he fought Wilder, and everybody was making fun of him. I'm like, don't be fooled. And he showed the world. And like you said a minute ago about mental, I mean, think about Mike Tyson. I mean, he beat his opponents before he even got into the ring. The way he would come up, that mental aspect. But, the one thing that made me upset about Wilder, though, after the fight is, when Tyson Fury got, I'm not going to say robbed, but when Tyson Fury lost that controversial draw to Wilder, Tyson Fury was gracious. He called Wilder a great fighter. He never made excuses. He didn't say, I should have won that fight. That was a BS call. He accepted the loss, right? Wilder decides to pop up and comes out. And I don't know if you saw any of the intro, but Wilder typically wears elaborate costumes in his fights, right? So Wilder comes out today and says that, I lost because I was tired, because my suit that I wore coming to the ring weighed 40 pounds.
What?
So, come on.
Wow.
Come on, dude. It's not a good look. You got your ass beat. No excuses. Let's not make excuses now. I just really feel as though since he supposedly exercised his rematch clause, which he had 30 days to do, I feel as though he's going to have some sort of injury leading up to this fight. It's not going to let it happen because Joshua's scheduled to fight in June. And if Joshua fights in June and Wilder's not fighting Fury next, there's no reason why we shouldn't see Joshua versus Fury in November or December. But once again, we know how boxing works, but the good thing also is the promoters, Eddie Hearn and Top Rank, they work together fairly well. But the problem is going to be Frank Warren, who also represents Fury. And Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn, that's Joshua's managers, they really, Frank Warren really despises those dudes. But here's the thing, money talks. And if it's a potential to make an all-time payday for all parties involved, then I can see them two dudes shaking hands like it's nothing.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's interesting how this whole thing is going to play out. I thought the Terrence Crawford Errol Spence situation was going to be crazy, but this whole Fury come out of nowhere getting the belt, and now this whole heavyweight division is turned upside down from not even 6 months ago from where we were to where we are now. So I don't even know what to say, Paul. I'm just sitting back. I ain't gonna say I'm in shock, but I'm still caught off guard by the way that fight ended and how quickly everything turned.
It all changed. And the common denominator is PBC. That's the boxing promotions. That's Wilder's promotion. That's also who else? Not Errol Spence. That's also Errol Spence promotion. And top rank is Terrence Crawford. And the problem is a lot of the time PBC does not work well with others. PBC does not. I mean, they're the guys who manage Keith Thurman and Adrian Broner and all those guys and Sean Porter, and they typically only let their guys fight their guys. It's why we saw Deontay Wilder fight Luis Ortiz twice. It's why we saw Pacquiao fight Broner, because they're both PBC. But now that PBC is out of the picture, because Wilder lost, now you got to deal with top-ranked Frank Warren and Matchroom, which is Eddie and Barry Hearn. They're both Englishmen. They got a long history going back to the 70s. So I mean, they've worked together before. Even though that Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn and Barry Hearn may not like each other, if they had the potential to make this fight happen and bring in, I mean, the amount of money that will come in will be astronomical. I would hope these two dudes can come to some sort of agreement and say money is more important than stupid personal beefs. Let's make this happen. I just hope that I don't want to see a Fury Wilder trilogy. I feel like Fury won both the first two fights. A third fight is of no value or no purpose, because he's not going to win. There's just simply no way Wilder's going to beat him if they fight again. And I think that they should just try their best to forego that fight and try to pursue that mega fight with Joshua. So, yet another Englishman can be the only person to hold all five world titles, because frankly, Lennox Lewis doesn't like the fact that they don't recognize him as being the first one to hold the WBA, WBD, WBO, IBF titles, because back then there was only three recognized titles: WBA, WBC, IBF. But Lennox Lewis held all four. So now, since all four of those belts are recognized, plus the fifth that Joshua has, I mean, if Wilder can go into England, fight for those four titles, and still be lineal champ, have the Ring Magazine belt, he'd be the most decorated heavyweight champion of all time. And that's a fact. He would be the most decorated heavyweight champion ever. And man, something like that, we know boxing, great things never seem to happen, and they're good for letting us down. But man, I hope they can make this happen, because this is like one of those once in a half a century stakes fight in the heavyweight division that needs to happen.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. It would be crazy if Fury ended up winning all of them, because not sure what to expect out of Joshua after his loss to Garcia, even though he got the belts back. And Fury, as you mentioned, is a quality opponent that knows how to box, knows how to fight, and knows how to play the mind game. So it'd be crazy, because reports that I saw, I don't know how official it is, but I saw something that came across my timeline saying that Fury is desperately, pursuing a fight with Joshua, and also saw that he possibly donated his whole purse to the homeless. I'm not sure if that was true, or if you heard that also. I think it was like a $9 million purse. If he did that, that's a hell of a human being right there. So I don't know if you, I'll wait for you to confirm that. Your sources are probably more legit than mine. So, but it's definitely going to be interesting boxing division in the next few months to see how this whole thing plays out.
Yeah, I heard that even after his first fight, he donated a large portion to mental health awareness too. And the only problem is though, like Fury wants Joshua, but Fury would have to go to court to get that fight, because unless Wilder decides to forego his rematch clause, because the rematch clause is up to Wilder.
Oh, okay.
So now that Wilder exercised his rematch clause, Fury would have to fight him next, unless Wilder got injured, or unless Fury was able to successfully fight in court to say, hey, I got a chance to unify the belt, I want this fight first. But when they made that contract stating there was automatic rematch for a third fight, that was a BS call. And I really do believe that was, I'm not saying a BS call for the fighters, for Wilder. Don't quote me here, but I believe that was probably a PBC thing, because I think they know that Wilder wasn't going to win. And they probably figured, hey, we need to do a third fight just so if he loses, he can get one more big payday. But I'm going to tell you something, Carol, after losing like that, I had some friends, I had some people that, don't watch boxing very much, and, of course they disagreed with everything that I said post-fight when I said Wilder would never be the same again, he'll never be champ again. Here's the thing about boxing. A lot of the time when you lose your first fight, especially when you're at that age at 34, and you've been dominating people left and right, when you lose something. Like, it's like when you're young, you get in a fight, you used to win fights all the time. You meet your match, somebody beat your ass. You seriously feel as though, like, man, what happened? Like, it almost makes you question everything about yourself, and it has a huge mental toll. Now, couple that with millions of dollars in a world title and losing on the grand stage and never having lost before. It's just, I think it'll be in his best interest to take a break first. I think he messed up after the first knockdown by not taking a stand and 8 count like he should have done, which most fighters do. That's how you can tell that you're not used to being in that position. I really think that his team should advise him to take at least the rest of 2020 off to try to regroup and get himself back into a groove, and then maybe fight Dillian White to get himself back in the title picture. But as of right now, I can't see him being the same fighter again if he decides to jump right back in the ring, because he's going to be gun shy and he's going to be nervous. And that's just reality. That's how the mind works.
Yeah, like you say, after a first loss at this stage in his career, it definitely takes something away from you, that confidence, that, thinking that you can get it done no matter what situation. So yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. But well, we got about 7 minutes left in the hour. What we got upcoming in the boxing world? Any other fights after this upset, I guess we can say, this past weekend?
I know we got some of them are rumors, but we're supposed to have Ryan Garcia versus Jorge Linares coming up soon. Ryan Garcia is a young guy, and this will be his first biggest test that he's faced yet. He won by a ridiculous one-punch knockout the other week. We heard tentatively that Canelo agreed to fight Billy Joe Saunders. And, Canelo's just running around boxing, just saying, okay, you got a belt in this weight class? Okay, I'll come up there and take it. Okay, you got a belt in that weight class? I'll move down and take that. I mean, Canelo's just playing musical belts now. I mean, this dude is just traveling weight classes from light heavyweight, like he did Kovalev, all the way down to 154 and just collecting belts and destroying them. I think Billy Joe Saunders may be a middleweight or super middleweight. I don't know if he's a champ right now. I think he may still be a champ, but that's the fight that they think that they're trying to make happen in May. And then we have Joshua fighting Alexander Pulev, who he was supposed to be fighting before Pulev got popped. Pulev is the mandatory challenger. He's supposed to be fighting soon. I think that's June 4th, I want to say. So those are the three biggest fights coming up soon. And of course later in the year we'll have Bud back in action and guys like that. But as of right now, those are the biggest fights that's coming up in the near future.
All right, sounds good. Let the folks know where they can find you before we get up out of here.
Yes, indeed. You can find me on Pugilist_HQ on Instagram, PUGILIST_HQ.
All right, appreciate it. As always, love your boxing insight and your knowledge. I actually got some spring training baseball on right now, so baseball talk right around the corner. So we getting ready for some World Series defending champs, Nationals baseball this year. So can't wait to have you on for Nats talk too, bruh. You have a good night and take it easy, Mike.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, my brother. Great show.
All right, man. Holler at you later on, man. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, we about to get ready to get up out of here. Got 5 minutes to the top of the hour. Another great show. I'd like to thank everybody that came on. Robbie, as always, Anna, Brian, Arun, Tim, Paul, the boxing guy. Appreciate everybody, all the contributors taking the time out to make Sports on the Hill podcast what it is today and what it's going to be in the future, which is going to be your place to look for the best DC sports coverage around. DC Sports about the politics. It's not just a catchphrase. It's not just a motto. It's what we do. And to end the show, I'm going to go ahead and end it the way we had our music break. I'm going to go ahead and throw the Renegade track or Money Convo one more time. We can get out of here. Go check out the website, SportsOTHP.com, for all the shows archived, all my blogs, Paul's blogs. He's putting out a blog after this fight. All the Dujanay's blogs and his show that he covers everything from NHRA racing, the XFL, the NFL, the NCAA. Make sure you check out the Power Play Point podcast with Anna Kay from Capitals Talk and Gil. They do a great job bringing you a different perspective on Capitals hockey. And stay tuned. As I mentioned, we're going to have Nationals Talk back once again. We don't really cover spring training, but you know we're going to cover the Nats better than anybody else does each and every game, each and every week, because that's what we do here on Sports and Hill Podcast. CP3, live from the lab. I'm about to get out of here. Take a listen to Renegade, Money Convo, go download it, Google Play, Apple Music. It's all out there on all the streaming platforms. Go check it out. Have a good night, and we'll holler at you next week. CP3, live from the lab, Sports on the Hill Podcast, True Radio Network, and I'm out.